Hey you all, my name is Catherine. I'm an AmeriCorps member serving with the Environmental Education Leadership Corps at Legacy Grove Park. This week for our storytime video, we are going to be continuing to read some poems. Last week we read Tree Valentine by Kentucky author and poet George Ella Lyon. This week we are going to be reading a couple different poems from my all-time favorite poet, Mary Oliver. She is from Ohio and writes a lot of poems about observations of the natural world, which I thought was appropriate. And so we're going to be reading a couple of her poems out of her book, Why Awake Early. So I hope you join us for this reading. This world. I would like to write a poem about the world that has in it nothing fancy, but it seems impossible. Whatever the subject, the morning sun glimmers it. The tulip feels the heat and flaps its petals open and becomes a star. The ants bore into the peony bud, and there's the dark pinprick well of sweetness. As for the stones on the beach, forget it. Each one could be set in gold. So I tried with my eyes shut, but of course the birds were singing, and the aspen trees were shaking the sweetest music out of their leaves. And that was followed by, guess what? A momentous and beautiful silence, as comes to all of us in little earfuls if we're not too hurried to hear it. As for spiders, how the dew hangs in their webs, even if they say nothing or seem to say nothing. So fancy is the world, who knows, maybe they sing. So fancy is the world, who knows, maybe the stars sing too, and the ants and the peonies and the warm stones, so happy to be where they are on the beach, instead of being locked up in gold. Just a minute, said a voice. Just a minute, said a voice in the weeds. So I stood still in the day's exquisite early morning light, and so I didn't crush with my great feet any small or unusual thing just happening to pass by where I was passing by, on my way to the blueberry fields. And maybe it was the toad, and maybe it was the June beetle, and maybe it was the pink and tender worm who does his work without limbs or eyes and does it well. Or maybe it was the walking stick, still frail and walking humbly by, looking for a tree. Or maybe, like Blake's wondrous meeting, it was the elves, carrying one of their own on a rose-petal coffin, away, away, into the deep grasses. After a while, the quaintest voice said, "Thank you," and then there was silence. For the rest, I would keep you wondering. Mindful. Every day I see or I hear something that more or less kills me with delight, that leaves me like a needle in the haystack of light. It is what I was born for, to look, to listen, to lose myself inside this soft world, to instruct myself over and over in joy and acclamation. Nor am I talking about the exceptional, the fearful, the dreadful, the very extravagant, but of the ordinary, the common, the very drab, the daily presentations. Oh, good scholar, I say to myself, how can you help but grow wise with such teachings as these? The untrimmable light of the world, the ocean's shine, the prayers that are made out of grass. Thanks so much for reading along those poems. I hope that you enjoyed them as much as I do. I always love reading her poems. I could read them over and over and over. There is going to be a writing prompt with this story time as well as there was last week, so I do hope you explore that, and I hope you stay tuned for our future videos.